Welcome to Bet On. I am Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. It is NFL Week 9, and we are powered by Wager Talk TV. Marco, Joe, let's bring them in. We are fresh off a 6-0 best bet week and 11-1 in both shows. So if you guys have not checked out the college football edition of Bet On It, you are missing out. At Marco D'Angelo, at Joe Raineri. Make sure you give them both of them a follow. We're going to get right into these primetime games, followed by some TNA, some prop shop. Maybe the deli's open, maybe it's not, but guaranteed Joe's going to be asking for a sandwich mid-show because he might have a little bit too much. Well, anyway, next, we're going to have some time with Las Vegas Curse and, of course, our good friend VR, followed up by some best bets. Let's get into it. Thursday night, Tennessee, 3-point underdogs at Marco's Pittsburgh Steelers, total 37. Marco, man, Will Levis, I got to see him in person. He looked pretty good on Sunday.
He did, Kelly, and before everybody calls me a homer with the pick I'm about to give, remember I gave everybody Jacksonville last week as my best bet against those Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think I recall telling somebody on this show, I don't know if they listened to me or not, don't be putting all those teasers with Pittsburgh.
It was too late. I bet the teasers on. I do two things. I bet teasers on Monday, like VR said, the best teaser spots have been at the end of the week. So I had both sides of Colts Saints, even though it didn't work out for me this week. And of course, I already had the Steelers. You can't tell me that on a Wednesday. It's already too late. But hopefully, he saved some of our listeners.
Yeah. It's always my fault. Oh, what can I say? All right, back to this game here. The reason we went against Pittsburgh last week were all of the things I talked about. Jacksonville had extra time to prepare. Jacksonville was the better team both offensively and defensively. And Pittsburgh was returning home in a bad scheduling spot. Now, this week, all of that changes. We have Pittsburgh playing at home for the second week in a row on a short week. They are playing Tennessee, who, by the way, also was on Tennessee last week as well, just like Kelly was last week, because they were coming off 2 weeks to prepare. They were starting a rookie quarterback. Nobody knew what to expect. They didn't have the game film. Well, now you've got that rookie quarterback. We've got some film, only one game, but we got some film. He's got to go on the road, short week, into a hostile environment against that TJ Watt-led defense. Yeah, things aren't going to be quite as easy for Will Levis this week. And we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers smarting off of that loss last week. And guys, the few injuries in that game, most notably in the secondary, Mika Fitzpatrick will be out for this game. But I don't think Will Levis is going to be able to exploit that. The other injury, well, it's Kenny Pickett. We don't know for sure if he's going to play. Mike Tomlin said right now was listing him as the starter, but he says will be a game-time decision. This play is a play with Kenny Pickett. It actually becomes a better play if it isn't Kenny Pickett. And I'm not picking on Pickett, but I think Matt Canada, if he gets a chance with another quarterback, is going to open up that playbook right away and try to have some success to get some of the heat off of his ass that's been all year long. So I will not be upset if it is Mitch Trubisky, and both will have seen plenty of practice time this week because of the situation. Pickett's injury is to the ribs, so we don't know how it will affect him really till he gets into the game. But I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin has been great off of a loss, especially a loss of 10 points or more. Since he has been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and over that career, playing at home, 17-5 against the spread when he is playing at home off of a loss of 10 points or more. I'm going to look for Pittsburgh to get the job done. One of the problems with the Steelers is they haven't been able to run the football, mainly because they always do it on first down, and everybody knows it because that's what Matt Canada calls every play, and they're ready to stop it. But if there's a team that they can run on, it should be this Tennessee team, who in the last 3 games has given up 193, 129, and 140 on the ground. If you can run the football, it opens everything else up. I like Pittsburgh off the short week and the bounce back. Let's call it Pittsburgh 24-16.
Joe, I like to play on teams that looked a little too good, and maybe the Titans looked so good because I was there in person, or maybe they looked really good because I had them on the money line. It was my best bet last week. But now I think they're getting a little bit too much love here. So I do agree with Marco. I lean towards the Steelers on Thursday night. But boy, is this total low.
Yeah, it's low, but unfortunately, it's not low enough as far as I'm concerned. I quite honestly can't think of two offenses I trust less right now than the two we have playing on a Thursday night primetime game. Do I need to go over the list of how many unders and how disgusting these Thursday night games have been thus far? Actually, not just this year, but keep going back last year and so on and so forth. Listen, the thing you're going to get with a rookie quarterback, and we all know this, you're going to get these great highs, and then you're going to get these unbelievable lows. And outside of Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin is a guy who, if I'm a rookie quarterback that just had the game of my career, the only game of your career, against Atlanta, this is not a game I am looking forward to. I don't care if Minka Fitzpatrick is back there or not. I think Will Levis, it was a great start. I think his era is begun, but I do not trust him against this Steelers defense. And you said actually two very important things there, Marco. One was, I heard you say Canada. Enough said there. And the other was Trubisky. Yeah, no, that's good. I'm going to go under in this game. The first one, the 17, is actually going to win this game. No way do I anticipate any sort of shootout. Vrabel and Tomlin, two of the better defensive-minded guys. Both offenses are going to struggle. I lean with Pittsburgh or Marco, but no way is this thing hitting 40 points.
All right, Joe, I'm going to pivot right back to you with a team that has been kind of cruising along here. That is the Cincinnati Bengals. Sunday night, Buffalo heads there. 3-point underdog on the road, 48.5. This one looks interesting. I wish it was 2.5 because I would lay it with the Bengals, but at 3, I think I got to stay away.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you here. At 2.5, I thought just maybe, there's an opportunity there with Cincinnati. But, Buffalo has been going through it here. I do kind of like what they did at the trade deadline there. Rasul Douglas kind of helping get some depth back in that secondary, which they are going to need. I thought Leonard Fournette was actually not a bad signing off the street either. They need help in the red zone. And Fournette, one of the better pass-catching running backs in his career. I don't think Damian Harris is coming back, so outside of Cook and Latavius Murray, they were thin in that position. So I love what Leonard Fournette brings to the table, and we have all seen it with our eyes. Maybe the most impressive thing about Cincinnati last week was Joe Burrow scrambling when plays weren't there, and rushing and running for yards and sliding. So whatever injury or whatever concerns we might have had with that calf, looks like they are gone out the window. Going to be a little weird there. Last time Buffalo went to Cincinnati, we all remember what happened in that game. Scary as all heck. So I'm hoping for less drama and a little more scoring in this game, because I do think that points are coming here. I think Buffalo is going to figure it out. I think they have enough weapons to cause some issues here for Cincinnati's young secondary. And I think Joe Burrow absolutely and that offense are going to get theirs. So I think this is kind of a 30-27 kind of situation here, Cal. So I am looking at the over. I think it lands in the 50s here.
I kind of agree with you there. Lean towards the over as well. Going to be a no play for me. Marco, do you have a play for Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, what Joe said about Cincinnati is absolutely correct in the regards to Joe Burrow. This is not the same team we saw over the first 4 weeks of the season. They've won 3 games in a row, and clearly last week was their best game. Now, with that said, the 3 teams that they did beat in the last 3 weeks, playing Arizona, playing Seattle, and then last week beating San Francisco, obviously was the most impressive. But those 49ers are on a 3-game losing streak of their own right now. Burrow, with the scrambles, he was their second leading rusher last week. 6 scrambles for 43 yards. That was huge because he extended drives that kept them on the field and the defense off the field. Now, we talked about the line being 3. We're seeing it move to 2.5. I'm looking across the board right now. Several books have moved to 2.5. The ones that haven't still have it at 3, even money, meaning it's going to get to 2.5. My initial read was to take Cincinnati in this game, but with it sitting at 2.5 and the money coming in, we know that the Buffalo Bills have a tendency, for whatever reason, to play to the level of their competition or play well when they're coming off a loss. They're not coming off a loss. They won on Thursday night, but they let Tampa Bay hang around in that game and had to survive a Hail Mary at the end of the game to preserve the win. They're going to come fully focused here. Why? Well, this is the team that ended their season last year. If you remember, Cincinnati beat them in the playoffs. I am going to go ahead and take Buffalo, and I'm going to use them in teasers. At 2.5, it is the correct mathematical play. Take them up over the touchdown. You get them to 8.5. Now, I'm going to tell you what else I'm going to look at is I'm going to have several teasers working to this game Saturday night or Sunday night because everything else will be final in front of it. I know Kelly hates this, but that gives me opportunities. I'll have an hour to think about it after all the dust settles on Sunday afternoon of how many live teasers I have working to the Buffalo Bills of just how much I want to come back and play for a very attractive middle. And if this line keeps coming down, it's going to make the money line very attractive to come back with Cincinnati on the money line and give me a very sweet middle. That's how I am playing this game this week.
Yeah, the Wager Talk odds screen, Marco is correct. 2.5's popping up, Joe. We might get that number we were looking for, but I'm with Marco. Teasers are going to be abundant, even though the total's a little higher than I'd like. Low total for Monday night, though, 41.5. Chargers back-to-back primetime games, now a 3-point road favorite at Joe's New York Jets. But Marco, I want your take first.
Yeah, Kelly, this game, when you look at this, and if people just handicap on what they saw last, if anybody actually saw the Jet game, and I don't know why when you have all the games on Sunday to choose from, that you would have watched the Jets and Giants. But if you did watch that, you saw football from the 1950s, maybe. I mean, they set football back 50 years watching that game. This is a spot where nobody's going to want the Jets. And if you watch Sunday Night Football, oh, wow, look at the Chargers. They went up and down the field. They're back. Just pump the brakes, okay? That was the Chicago Bears, who don't have a good defense. That was the Chicago Bears that had a rookie quarterback that had a good first game against another team that is an actual train wreck in the Raiders. And we saw what happened last night here in Vegas. Mark Davis fired the coaching staff. That's how much of a train wreck the Raiders have been. So I am not putting a lot of stock in how well the Chargers looked on Sunday Night Football. They are going to be playing the best defense that they have faced. And you know what I say to you all the time. Kelly, give me the better defense. Getting points. Now throw them at home on a Monday night. A primetime home dog. If you're not lining up with me, Kelly, on the New York Jets, 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 we just can't be friends anymore. I'm sorry. I'm going with the Jets. I'm calling for the outright victory here. I've got this game 24-20. The Chargers rank 31st of 32 teams at yards per play allowed. The only team worse than them are the Denver Broncos. I know the much maligned Zach Wilson, even he can move the football against this defense. Come on. Let's go Jets.
Oh boy, primetime home dog for Marco. I'm not saying I disagree, but Joe, you're the Jets fan here. What say you?
Yeah, and listen, I think that's great, Marco. And really, honestly, back in the JETS, after what we just had to witness with the Giants and them setting football back 100 years, I think it's great that you think they're going to come out firing. Now, I do agree with you that Yes, forget about what you saw. That's kind of the outlier there. I do think the Jets will be a little bit better offensively. It won't be raining sideways. There won't be 20-mile-an-hour winds. The conditions are said to be a little bit better than what they were against the Giants. But, you're right. The best defense is going to be the Jets. The thing that the Chargers do well, they're not going to be able to run the ball very well. And I still think there's a issue with the injury to the hand or to the shoulder with Herbert. Not exactly the most accurate quarterback over the last month or so. Now, we did see this team go up against two pretty good defenses. And Marco, you nailed it. Kansas City and Dallas. Didn't work out all that well for them when they play defenses that can go after it and they make them one-dimensional. That's exactly what the Jets defense is going to do. So like the Jets hate the Jets, we can all agree that that is a championship caliber defense that's going to keep them in games, whether we like it or we don't. And I think if we like the Jets, Margo, like you had said, the only way the Jets win this game is if it stays under 41.5 points at home on a Monday night. And that's the way I'm looking here. I think 41.5, first one to 21 is going to win this game. I do not think we get over 41.5 points here.
Another snooze fest on Monday night. I am here for it. And these glasses, well, they only mean one thing, and that means it's time for some TNA with our good friend, Ralph Michaels. At calsportslv.buzz/RM, you can get all of his TNA, including his Nerd Charts and Jeff's Streakers. Ralph, welcome in. Let's talk about those NFL streakers.
Well, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 5 straight wins. Whoever thought going to London was going to straighten out your team? The Jets with forced bait, but you see the asterisk in there, Kelly. So that means in their last 4 games, they do have a push in there. So anytime you see the asterisk, you mean that is not necessarily 4 straight wins, but over 4 straight games, they have gone 3-0-1 ATS. The losses, Bills and Packers, 4 straight ATS losses. The unders, we know this has been an under season. Minnesota and the Giants, 6 straight unders. Chargers, Steelers, and Bucks, 5 straight unders. Texans and Chiefs, 4 straight unders. And as far as overs go, there is nada. No NFL teams with at least 4 straight unders. And it's been under city this year in the NFL. Actually, the last few years in the NFL has been under city.
I mean, I love to see it, but that's just because we all know what a contrarian I can be. You can get all of those streakers at JM Sports CLE on Twitter. I also have been posting them on the Wager Talk Instagram. And of course, you can get them bundled with Ralph's TNA for this week in the NFL on Ralph's homepage. Ralph, really quickly, I wanted to give you a little pat on the back and say congratulations on your 6-0. I'm loving that you and I are both streaking, if you will, at the right time in the middle of this season. But let's go to this nerd chart because you have dug up some really interesting stuff here.
Well, Kelly, I'm going to go back old school. When I was young, I remembered, there was a huge difference between grass and turf. And then the NFL field started getting better. And, you had Arizona and Raiders that could switch fields and have grass fields. But do take a look at this, and it's surprising. You look at September. Grass games have gone over 50%, artificial 43%. Again, but those are great weather games. The conditions are fine. But look at October, November, December, and January. On the left-hand side are the grass games. 44.1% over under, 47% over under, 43.7, and 42.3. So on the bottom, you see the totals from October, November, December, and regular season January games. If you blindly bet every under on grass from October through January in the regular season, you have won 56.3%, while the artificial turfs, actually, rain and snow sometimes helps the over on artificial turfs. DBs slip, cornerbacks can't follow as close, wide receivers know where they're going. So you see the over-unders are basically 50%. So we saw some snow this past weekend in Denver, but keep that in mind, grass fields. And I'm just going to mention one more thing, Kelly. I didn't look at this on the schedule because I didn't have this planned in advance. But when Pittsburgh, when the Panthers play on Saturday and the Steelers play on Sunday and it's crappy weather on Saturday, the Steelers are stuck with a horrible grass field on Sunday. That's something I always look for in inclement weather when we get later into the season.
Wow, Ralph, that's a very good point. Look for other teams that happen to share fields, not in enclosed arenas like UNLV and the Raiders. Ralph, really quickly, before you go into your 4 systems for this week, can you tell everybody what you have up over at Wager Talk?
Got a 5-star in college football to get posted Thursday, so everyone has the exact same chance to get that play on a 66% run since October 14th on all sports. And if you want 7 days for the price of 3, go to wagertalk.com, go to Ralph's homepage, buy a 7-day package, use coupon code Ralph69, and you're going to get 7 days for the price of a 3-day all-access pass. All right, guys, let's hit it. We've got 4 quick hitter systems. And again, these will all be in the PDF if you miss any, so you don't need to try to write them down. Kelly made me do the PDF, by the way, because she was always scribbling down notes on the systems and angles and would call me after the show saying, I missed one. So thank her for the weekly PDFs. First, we're going to look at teams off a straight-up and ATS win against a team off a straight-up and ATS loss with the lines between the 3s. So we have a close-knit game. The line is from +3 to -3. The team that is off a straight-up and ATS loss, like Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and the Colts, have only gone 55 and 79, 41% against the spread. So this system says when the line's between the 3s, you play on the team that is off a straight-up and ATS win and against the team that is off a straight-up and ATS loss. All right, system number 2. We're looking at home favorites, very small home favorites, off an away loss. This goes back to 2019, and it's excluding game 15 and higher. The system doesn't work as well later in the year, in the season, but when we look early, the first 2/3 of the season through week 14, these teams have been a fade situation, 29 ATS wins, 60 ATS losses. That is 32.6%. That says the fade. The Texans, the Patriots, and the Raiders this week. System number 3 goes back to 2010. It is a division game. You have a bye on deck, and your opponent has a division game on deck. This system has gone 76%, Kelly, since 2010, and the play is on Philadelphia. So Philadelphia is playing, obviously, a division game against the Cowboys. Philadelphia has a bye on deck, and the Cowboys also have a division game on deck against the Giants. So system 3, 76% play on the Philadelphia Eagles. And the final, you are playing a non-division foe. You are an away dog of less than 5, up to 5. So you're a small home dog. You're a small away dog. And you're off a loss as a home dog where you score 20 points or less. So it seems convoluted, but it really isn't. Non-division game, you're a small away dog, and you're off a loss as a home dog. That team, like the Giants, has actually gone 77.4%. Small sample size, 24 ATS wins, 7 ATS losses. So system 1 says to fade Steelers, Chiefs, and Colts. System 2, fade Texans, Patriots, and Raiders. System 3, play on the Eagles. System 4, play on the Giants. So, Kelly, we do have one of those doubles. We have a play against the Raiders and a play on the Giants in 2 of the 4 systems. We'll see what happens in that game.
I should have asked you, but it would have required a 3 a.m. phone call. What happens after coach gets fired? But we'll save that one for Twitter at CalSportsLV. Ralph is the best. Let's bring in the second best. Andy Lang has been so helpful with me at Better with these props, helping me cash some of those tickets at Bump Sports. Let's bring him on in. All right, Andy, Thursday night football per usual. I got to get a prop bet from you there. Then, of course, my favorite game, Seahawks Ravens. I'm so happy you're actually going to participate this week. That Falcons Titans game wasn't so bad now, was it? And then, of course, we're going to get a best bet from you at the end of the show. But let's start off Thursday night football, Titans at Steelers.
I mean, to try and tone down the excitement, 2 straight weeks of Tennessee Titans props. Here we go. Let's go Derrick Henry, over 72.5 rushing. Kelly, I don't know why there's still this notion that the Steelers defense is good. The rush defense is terrible. They stink. 27th in the league. They give up 137 yards per game rushing. Let me list some players here for you, Kelly. Travis Etienne, Royce Freeman, Darrell Henderson, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Damian Pierce, Josh Jacobs, Jerome Ford, Christian McCaffrey. 9 running backs who have gone over their rushing totals against the Steelers. That's 9 running backs. They've only played 7 games. They're not a good rush defense. So give me Derrick Henry all day against the Steelers defense. It's a short week, and what a great way to protect Will Levis, to have a really good running game. Derrick Henry is really good on Thursday. He averages 92 yards rushing in 6 Thursday night football games. He scored 7 touchdowns in those 6 games. So give me Derrick Henry over 72.5 rushing yards.
Andy, that number seems really high. I understand that the Steelers defense is not as good as the Falcons defense, but on Sunday, this was just 58.5. I'm kind of floored.
I mean, what are you going to do? The Steelers defense stinks. I talked about Travis Etienne. He flew over his total by 18 yards. They are the gift that keeps on giving. We're past Halloween, but the Steelers just keep giving out treats in the form of over rushing props for the opponents. Go Derrick Henry.
All right. Well, I don't know if I like this one very much for my best bet, but we're going I don't know if I like this one very much for my best bet, but we're going Seahawks at Ravens. You got an under for us here.
Yeah, it's Kenneth Walker, and we're going under his rushing yards. I'm not sure what this number is going to come out. I'm guessing it's around 52.5. Little concerning that he did not practice a ton last week, but he did play. He was dealing with a little bit of a calf injury, so we got to monitor that. But more concerning, he's faced 2 really good rush defenses in the top 7, and he did not get over his total. Against Detroit, 17 carries for 43 yards. And last week against Cleveland, only 8 carries. Now, he had 66 yards, but one of them was a 45-yard run. Other than that, 7 carries for 21 yards. And I think his stats are inflated by facing some pretty bad rush defenses. He's faced Carolina, Cincinnati, Arizona, New York Giants, and the Rams. Those are 5 of the bottom 12 rush defenses. Baltimore is 12th best. And I got to give a credit to Jacob Gibbs on Twitter. You notice the snap rate last week. Zach Charbonnet, 56% of the running back snaps. Routes run, 22-10 in favor of Charbonnet. Red zone snap count, 60% for Charbonnet. So either the Seahawks are falling out of love with Kenneth Walker. I think it's more that they're protecting him against that calf injury. But either way, I don't like this matchup. I think Kenneth Walker comes under his rushing total.
All right. And last but not least, I need a best bet from you. And I already kind of taken a sneak peek in the back end, and I hope this bodes really well for my survivor pick.
Hold your nose. We're going to take a Derek Carr touchdown prop. We're going to take over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's a great price. It's minus 105 at the time of recording this. And it's all about this matchup. The Bears give it up 17 passing touchdowns this season, only 4 rushing touchdowns. This is how you score on the Chicago Bears team. 3rd worst pass defense, 3rd best rush defense. Like last week, even against the Chargers. You saw the Chargers. They didn't even try to run the ball. They were even ahead and they're throwing the ball. Why? Because there's no reason to try and run it against the Bears. You just pass it against them. And the Bears, on offense, they were awful with Bagent as quarterback. And that was against the single worst pass defense in the league against the Chargers. This Saints defense, much, much better. 7th best. I think this is a game that the Saints dominate. I don't see how the Bears are going to be able to move the ball through the air against the Saints team. And when it comes to passing yards, Chicago is one of the absolute best matchups in the league. Derek Carr has only gone over this a couple games this season. This is just a juicy dream matchup. Give me Derek Carr over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
All right, Andy Lang at bumpsportswt.buzz/AL. Andy does a ton of work on our Wager Talk Instagram channel as well at Wager Talk. See you next week, Andy. All jokes aside, I'll be texting you later to help me out with my picks lineup. That being said, time to find out what Joe was doing during that commercial break. Joe, are you high?
All right, Cal. Well, this week we have been maybe not high enough in a lot of spots. Like last week with Indianapolis and New Orleans Saints there. We certainly like that game to go over. We wanted to be a little bit higher. But this week, got to pump the brakes here. I think we're a little bit too high when we look at the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. A battle for the NFC The NFC East is what I meant to say. We know what the blueprint is here with the Dallas Cowboys. If you are a sub-500 team, Dallas is going to look like Super Bowl champs. If you are above 500, Dallas has got all sorts of issues here. And wouldn't you know it, they happen to be taking on a team that, yes, knows them pretty darn well, but does come into this game with some injury concerns, namely Jalen Hurts. Now, if this knee is a problem, and anybody that's watched them run over the last couple of weeks, you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. You know, he's favoring that knee. It's taking a lot of work, he says, after games and before games to get it to a spot where he feels comfortable. I don't see him running around the field an awful lot, which means there could be a whole lot of passing going on here, and the Dallas secondary, we know what they can do here. You got to be impressed with what they have there. But ultimately, I think that Philadelphia doesn't want to get into a shootout with Dallas. That's not their best road to success. It's by grinding it out, running it, controlling the clock. We have seen this before from Philadelphia, and I think we're going to see it again against this Dallas team. And Dallas, same situation. Again, an above-average defense. Dallas figures out ways to shoot themselves in the foot. I do not like that Dak Prescott is going to have to go back and try to throw the ball 35, 40 times in a game. Why is that? Because I don't trust the Dallas run game. I don't think they're going to have any success running the ball, which leads me to believe that Dak, is going to figure out some ways in this game in order to take some points off the board for the Cowboys. 46 is the number. I do like Philadelphia, but I like the under as well because I believe Philadelphia's best way to win this game is by grinding it to a halt and keeping Dak Prescott and that vaunted offense on the sideline here. So to me, 46 is a bit too high in this one. I think it's going to be much more of a defensive battle.
I agree with you, Joe. I lean towards the Eagles as well in that one. Marco, it's been a long time since we've had a trap game. What's going on with that?
No, actually, Kelly, it is a sandwich game. My bad.
So I know. We've had sandwiches. I'm getting full. I want to know where the hell the trap games have been.
Well, I've been feeding you, so you're just worried about that you're eating too good and I'm putting weight on.
I know. My face looks way fatter, so I can't wait for the comment section to tell me that I've been eating too many damn Marco sandwiches.
Well, Kelly, this one is low carb, low calorie because this is an ugly sandwich, okay? We're going to be going to the Indianapolis-Carolina game, all right? And for this sandwich, but it's perfect. And this is all, again, I talked about it in the college show. This is what situational handicapping is all about. Sometimes it's going to put you in these ugly games, but there's great situations. And what we have here, pure and simple, is we've got a Carolina team that is coming off their first win of the season. Hey, we were on them last week. We gave them out here on the show. I gave it to my clients. That was their first win. They had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. They were all out for that game to get the win, and they got it. Now, okay, you say, well, they're off the schneid. They're going to get a roll going. No, pump the brakes a little bit. You got Indianapolis. They've lost 3 in a row. But this Indianapolis team, defensively, they're not so good. Offensively, surprisingly, they're 13th in the NFL in yards per play, while Carolina's offense is 31st of the 32 teams. The only team worse than them are the New York Giants. Okay, that's how bad Carolina's offense is. So for Indianapolis and their bad defense, I don't think Carolina will be able to exploit it. Now, on the flip side of that, let's look at Indy scoring-wise. They're 6th in scoring, believe it or not. Carolina 25th. Let's look at what Carolina has on deck. They got Chicago. It's a look-ahead spot, right? No, you'd say, are you crazy, Marco? Why would they be looking ahead to Chicago? You want to know why? Because it's a Thursday night football game. Nobody likes playing the Thursday night games, but when you're the Carolina Panthers, you're just excited to be on TV any day of the week, okay? To be on a featured game. You're coming off your first win. You've got a rare TV appearance coming up. Remember 2 weeks ago when we had a big play on Baltimore against Detroit, as good as Detroit was playing? It was because Detroit had that Monday night game on deck. They had not had a Monday night game in forever at home. I am going against Carolina in this spot. We're going to go ahead, take Indianapolis. They win this one outright, going away. I've got them winning 27-17. This could have, I could have used this as a best bet as well, but it is the sandwich game of the week. Take Indy.
Oh, I don't know if I can back this team on the road, Marco. That sandwich is a little stinky. Woo! But I'm going to kick it right back to you because I'm hoping your barking dog is a little more tasty.
Well, Kelly, the barking dog that I'm going to give you a couple times this year has bit us right in the ass, but we're going to go ahead and go back to them. And we're going to take Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield, my buddy, Baker Mayfield. But he's had 3 extra days to prepare for this one. They played on Thursday last week, and they were just a Hail Mary away from beating Buffalo. They were dominated the whole game. It never should have got to that spot. They had how many 4th down conversions in the drive before that? They got them in under the number for the spread, and then everybody that played the money line in teaser-wise had to sweat that Hail Mary at the end of the game that could have won the game for Tampa Bay outright. We also went against Houston last week, and we said last week that Houston shouldn't be a road favorite against anybody, and that was one of the reasons why we went against Houston in the spot that we did. So now I'm looking at Tampa Bay here as the road dog. I'm going to go ahead, take them against Houston. I said they shouldn't be a road favorite. Should they really be a home favorite? We're starting to see C.J. Stroud. I loved what he has done. He has clearly been the best rookie quarterback so far. But as you're starting to see with the Texans, look at the last 3 games. 19 points scored, 20 points scored, 13 points scored. What's happening? Teams are starting to get some film on them. They're starting to game plan for them differently, and the offense is not moving. Not that Tampa Bay has a stellar shutdown defense, but it is good enough to hold them at bay. I'm going to have Tampa Bay in this one. I'm taking them plus the field goal. I've got them winning 24-20. Let's go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and my buddy, Baker Mayfield.
Oh, Marco, you might have just taken the Texans off my survivor list. They were way down on the list, but I was still going to look at them because I've got 4 entries still alive. That does concern me. Tampa Bay, God, they're so mid. Joe Raineri, I need a better barking dog than Marco's. Give me one that's above a field goal.
Oh, hell no. Absolutely. You ain't going to get anything better here. It's going to be absolutely disgusting. But I do think it might head above a field goal. So I do think there is an opportunity for you to get the Rams, who will be taking on of course, the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. And we're still waiting confirmation, I believe, as of taping here on what's going to happen with Stafford. Now, let's all be realistic here. The Rams were never beating Dallas, ever. The simple fact that they decided to use some sort of halfback pass to a quarterback on a 2-point conversion and thus getting him to crush his thumb is a story for a different day. Green Bay is just absolutely one of the more disappointing teams here in the NFL. And quite honestly, I think Jordan Love is going backwards, which is saying much because I didn't think he was a whole lot to begin with But it's getting even worse for this Green Bay Packers team, who I don't think has any confidence whatsoever. I do think the Rams will have a opportunity here to be able to run on what is a terrible run defense of Green Bay. And Brett Rippon, again, what in the secondary of Green Bay? They just traded one of their better cornerbacks, Rasul Douglas, to Buffalo here. He's going to be just fine. He's been around the game long enough, and you don't need to be great in order to be able to beat the Green Bay Packers defense here. And I think, yes, the Rams are not going to like the way they got blown out by Dallas, but if you noticed, they didn't stop. They kept coming after Dallas in the second half, even though the game was over. I think they have way too many weapons offensively. I think they can take advantage of a porous Green Bay defense, and who in their right mind wants to see another 3-and-out here, holding a Green Bay ticket and watching Jordan Love scratch his head and have that deer caught in a headlight look? Not me. I'm going to go with the Rams, but I do think once Stafford is probably ruled out officially, this will go to 3.5, and that's when I'll be pouncing on the Rams to win outright this week.
All right, I don't think I want any part of that disgusting game. You are correct, Joe Raineri. But I'm going to kick you guys off here for a couple segments before we get to best bets, because it's time for 5 minutes with Las Vegas Chris. Let's see what he's going to learn us today.
Well, we've been talking about how we all love parlays and teasers, and what I have been doing is having segments to try to have you thinking outside of the box a little bit and realize the power behind your alternatives. So, for example, I'm going to go back because the same situation has happened to me the last 2 Monday nights, and I want to explain what I did and how teasers benefited me. I've discussed how to use the teasers and how to kind of layer them by time so that you're given options along the way to maybe rethink or kind of divert what you're doing. Example, the previous week, not this past week, but 2 weeks ago, San Francisco, Minnesota played each other on Monday night. And I had San Francisco pick for a fair amount. And it was, you know what? I worked my way there with the layered teasers. I have a chunk sitting there. And like yourself, I start thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? Hedge. And a lot of people are going to just sit there and take the Minnesota +7. With a San Francisco money line in the pocket. What I chose to do is I chose to start a teaser or several teasers, and I took Minnesota +14, 6-point teaser, or 7-point teaser. I got Buffalo down to pick on that Thursday night. And thankfully I did hedge some because my San Francisco money line petered out, but I carried that Minnesota +14 hedge into that Thursday game and won those. So fast forward to this past Monday with the Lions. I had a lot on the Lions. I had 6 teasers closing in on the Lions, anywhere from +2.5 to -2. And I wanted to do something similar. So I did the exact same thing. I chose a 3-team teaser, Las Vegas +17, and you could have done a 6-point teaser also. And I pushed that into Tennessee +13 this Thursday. So not only did Detroit win, but Las Vegas lost by 12. So the hedge is still alive and kicking. So all the teasers won. And now I've got 13 points in my pocket with Tennessee. And let's go one step further. Hedging the hedge. Now I have the opportunity, if I want, to start another teaser with Pittsburgh +7.5 from the 2.5 into something else that I like. You guys are starting to get the picture. You guys can kind of roll things over into each other depending on how you have things set up by time. So I hope that isn't too confusing. But instead of using 10-point teasers, you can also, don't forget, Las Vegas would have been +13 and Tennessee would have been +8.5 or 9. And then I could have added a Sunday game, and the 3-team teaser pays plus 160. So a really nice payday considering you were willing to probably wash out that Detroit and just get the plus 7. You could have gotten the plus 13, thrown it into the Thursday game and thrown it into a Sunday game or different layering of games on Sunday. So hope that gets through. If anybody has any questions, contact me. The business, last week I hosed you guys. I had a parlay, moneyline parlay. KC let us down. Sorry about that. This week, going to go the teaser route. The 2 strongest teams I have in a teaser this week, and that's what I'm going to give you, is Cleveland and New Orleans, both -2. But I also want you to consider there are some options. If you like the Thursday game, Tennessee, let's just say, you can do a 7-point teaser with that and take Tennessee plus 10 into Cleveland and New Orleans and get those down to -1. And for that, you can get plus 130 on a 3-team. If you wanted to add another later starting game, like Dallas or the Jets, they're both in the exact same situation. You can add a 4th team, 7-pointer, Dallas plus 10. You can get plus 200 on 4 teams. The Jets, if you added that Jets, 5 teams plays plus 320. Now remember, you have to get these key numbers. So without them, you're lost. That's what I have, but I want to leave you with this one thing. What do I do when I'm stuck on a bet I don't want and the line has moved against me? What the hell do I do? Well, next week we're going to talk about it. Thanks and have good luck this week.
Thank you to Las Vegas Chris. Make sure you guys are following him at Las Vegas Chris, CRIS, on Twitter. Now for the man of the hour that you guys comment on every single week, whether he's here or not, VR, for some of that NFL Week 9 gold.
Thanks, guys. I got a lot of good stuff for this week. And once again, thank you all for the continued support. A lot of you joined me last Sunday for the Steam Room. We had a great time and turned in some good results. Like usual, whether you follow faith or ignore, I just want you to use the information to profit. Before we dive into those picks, more or less the Steam, I don't want to call them picks. Let me share real quickly the passing success rate offensively and defensively, top 5 in the NFL. Start off on the offensive side of the ball. San Francisco, Miami, Buffalo, Seattle, Detroit, in that order. Defensively, Cleveland, KC, New Orleans, New York Giants, and Baltimore, also in that order. Not surprising. Now let's dive right into some of these signs. Start off with game 460. Green Bay, -3. We got a lot of action this week already in the NFL. Game 464. New England Patriots, -3. Game 468. Carolina Panthers, +3. See what's going on here. Key numbers. Got to get out and ahead of the market. Move over to 451. Miami Dolphins on the money line. Here's why that's interesting. Because after that was bet early in the week, I got 2 or 3x the opposite side coming in on Kansas City. So there was some plus money taken on the Miami Dolphins side, and then a lot of Kansas City steam did come in. Also, 465, Chicago. I know that line's moving up, but there's a buy orders out, and that's all the group that I was working with has been waiting for. To get that 8.5, that's out there right now. And I think all that public money should keep that number around for us for a little bit longer. Now let's dive into some of these totals. Start off with a first half total. Chargers and the Jets, under 20 in the first half. These are full game totals. And remember, check for weather, check for injuries. A lot of times these groups are getting out ahead of that. Once the information is known, any value is gone. Meaning the weather being bad doesn't help you as a sports bettor unless you're able to bet into that prior to the adjustment. Once the book lowers the total 3-4 points, who cares about the bad weather anymore? You can no longer take advantage of the information. So always check, especially when there's line movements, so you could try to conclude what is the line movement, what is the reason behind it. Start reading the markets. Let price action guide you. Start off with 457. Arizona, Cleveland, under 39, 38.5, and 38. 460. Let's say under 42, 41.5, 41, 40.5, 40. Could be weather, could be injuries. 463. Washington, New England, over. One of the week that got steamed, over 39, 39.5, and 40. And the second over is the Sunday night game. Now, usually you'll see the betting syndicates want to get out ahead of the public on primetime games when they like an over, and that's exactly what they did here. Going over 46, 46.5, 47, 47.5. I thought they were done, and then I get a group coming in and betting me over 48, over 48.5. So it looks like they're expecting 50-plus points in this one. A lot of times, even after the adjustment, there's still some EV. A lot of times that's not the case, especially in the NFL when the margins are so tight. And finally, last but not least, Chargers, Jets, 476, under for the game. Bet in the first half, under 20. Bet it for the game, under 44. So 2 positions on that same total. And of course, like I say, whether you follow, fade, or ignore, I hope you cash them, don't trash them. I love you guys. Appreciate the support. Smash the like button. Hit up the comments. Share some winners. And best of luck this weekend.
Thank you to VR for all of that NFL gold. I hope you guys wrote that down because that was a lot. That being said, it's the end of the show, and that means it's time for Best Bets. Full disclosure, if you guys watched my 32 NFL preview videos, you would know I have a 20-1 ticket on the Baltimore Ravens. So this is no shade at the Ravens, but this team is just 4-10 in their last 14 games, laying a field goal or more. Kind of interesting here. You've got a Seattle team that I've backed a few times this season, once at Detroit and once at home. And that's because, well, Pete Carroll, damn near 60% against the spread as an underdog. And while I'm not a huge Geno Smith fan, I think if he can play above average, just a little bit, they can go into Baltimore and keep this one much closer than the 5.5 indicates, possibly get the outright win. Baltimore has led at halftime in 7 of the 8 games, though, this year. And at times, I've been really impressed with them. But they are coming off a big road win at the Cardinals. And guess who they have on deck? Oh, yeah, the Browns and the Bengals. Are they really looking at this Seahawks team? I'm going to take the better defense here. Well, maybe not, but better over the last 3 games. This defense here has kept their opponents below 250 total yards. This one might be a snooze fest. Baltimore might squeak out the win with Tucker, but I do like Seattle catching 5.5 here on Sunday afternoon. Marco D'Angelo, before you give me your best bet, let me know what's going on over at Wager Talk.
All right, Kelly, we got a special offer. We did it last week. We gave you a sneak peek last week. You got it a week early, but here's where the promo was actually supposed to start. Get the rest of 2023. Pick your favorite capper. Get all access, all sports, $469. That's less than $59 a week for your favorite capper, all the sports. And right now, everything is going on. NBA, college basketball will be starting in a week. You've got football, college, and pro. And don't forget hockey. Get it all till December 31st, $469. All right, let's get into that best bet. And you know what, Kelly? I didn't have that one as my best bet. But Timestamp Kelly got Joe in the college show. She got me in the NFL show. That was a strong candidate for my barking dog. I agree with you on Seattle. But we're going to go for my best bet. If you watched the show a couple weeks ago, we got a push on this play. And it was a play that I never, ever, ever should have pushed. I had the Charger Kansas City game over the total. 41 points at halftime. If I was the slacker like Joe and just wanted to play first half, I would have cashed the ticket because I can't go the distance, but I should have because I got a push out of it. Only 7 points in the second half. Well, it's the same scenario in this game. Now, the only drawback is it's being played in Germany, and we've seen that these games across the pond, you travel. Sometimes we don't get the high-scoring games we anticipate, but this is one I think you're going to see it. I talked over and over again. I know Kansas City is an under team this year. Why are they an under team? Well, because they haven't faced teams that have been able to trade points with them that often. And Andy Reid, we know when he gets a lead, he takes the air out of the football, takes his foot off the gas, and just shuts things down. This is one of those teams that can score points. We saw the Chargers do it for a half and then went MIA in the second half. Miami will be able to move the football. And what does that mean? When Miami scores, Kansas City's got to answer. And oh boy, if you looked at this Miami defense, they can't stop anybody. It's a good thing that they can score. I think it's going to be a track meet of a game. And not that Tua is a guy that's going to scramble for yards. He is mobile in the pocket, which he can extend the plays. And if you look at the quarterbacks that Kansas City has faced this year, the majority of their quarterbacks that they have faced have been what I like to refer to as statues in the pocket. You know, Detroit's got a great offense, but they got Jared Goff. He's not a guy that's going to move around in the pocket. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins. They did face Chicago in Fields, but that's Justin Fields. He's not going to score a lot of points. I think they get burned in this game. Both teams, I think, can hit the 30 mark. I'm looking for this one to go over the total of 50.5. I'm projecting 58 or more points in this one. Take the over. Make sure to bet it Saturday night, because if you live in Vegas, this game starts at 6 a.m. I'd hate for you to wake up at 6:15 and have missed the best bet.
Yeah, it's 6:15 when it's already 7-7 or 14-0. Yeah, I agree with you, Marco. That looks like an overplay to me. Joe, as usual, you are batting cleanup with best bets. Who you got?
So I'm gonna go with the old "if it ain't broke, we ain't fixing it" for a best bet this week, and I am gonna go back to Philadelphia here, which I know Dan, our producer there, is probably jumping up and down here, but I am going with the Eagles taking on the Cowboys. And it's very simple here, guys. When you look at it, and I mentioned it earlier, the numbers bear out. Dallas looks like world beaters against sub-500 teams whenever they play a team that elevates its level of play in a divisional rivalry here against the Eagles on the road. If you are expecting the Cowboys that showed up last week to beat the Rams, yeah, Cowboy fans will be the first to admit to you, it often doesn't happen. And I don't think it's going to happen again this week. All you're going to hear about all week is Jalen Hurts' knee, and they're banged up, and did you see how Dallas looked? Oh, no, this is the time for Dallas. Yeah, no. In the meantime, I'm dealing with a Philadelphia team that has gone 11-5 against the number as a home favorite over the last couple of seasons, and also has gone 7-0 against the number the week before a bye. Yeah, no. If it ain't broke, you do not fix it. I do not trust Dallas against better competition. I certainly don't trust them to go on the road to Philadelphia and be able to handle Philadelphia, and I don't care who the quarterback is or what the knee issue is. Philadelphia will once again come away with a victory in this game. Dallas will once again try to figure out where it went all wrong. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Eagles win this weekend against the Cowboys by at least a touchdown.
Oh boy, now you're going to have all the Cowboys fans in the comment section very angry with you.
I know.
Rightfully so. They can be mad at me as well. Let's throw up that recap graphic so you guys can hopefully not miss out on any of those plays. Again, we went 11-1 on both shows last week. It's been a really good stretch since I finally righted the ship with my best bets. So again, hope you guys enjoy both editions of Bet On College Football and NFL. From the NFL crew, Joe, Marco, Ralph, VR, Las Vegas Chris, Andy, and myself, good luck. And until next week, let's bet on it.